All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Kontent Rocks podcast with your host, Brian McKeiver. I'm happy to bring this new podcast to life as Kontent Rocks is going to be all focused about content by Kentico, especially in the .NET side of the world and Jamstack side of the worlds. And maybe if we even get lucky, we'll talk a little bit about some JavaScript stuff that goes with it because, again, that's a big part of Jamstack. So I'm really excited to be kicking off the podcast in this very first inaugural episode with a good friend of mine, Vojtech Boril. Wojciech, welcome to the show.
Hey Brian, thank you for having me. It's pleasure. Of course, I would prefer to meet in person. It's been some time due to COVID, but still it's great to catch up over the mic. And thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, I thought Wojciech would be a great person to have on the show with me because the topic for today's episode is all about Kontent Horizons, the biggest event in the headless CMS world as far as I'm concerned this year. It's coming up very soon, and I'm hoping to kind of talk about what that event is, maybe give the listeners a little inside information, and just get your thoughts around it as you're the main organizer of that event. But before we kind of talk about the event itself, Wojciech, why don't you, in case anyone who hasn't met you before or hasn't seen you on some of the other publications around content, could you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about what you do, and give us one just fun thing that you're passionate about doing outside of work?
Sure. I'm happy to do that. So currently, I'm a VP of Growth and Marketing at Kontent by Kentico, and I must say it's been a hell of a ride for me because Brian remembers, but in fact, I was one of the first 5-6 members that were initially in internal startup. Back then, it was called Kentico Draft, and over the years, it evolved into content division. So it was quite a ride, and over the last 6 years, I was in different positions, ranging from sales to product, where I was responsible for launching the first integrations at Kontent, and then quite naturally, I stepped into the leadership position and took over the marketing function, but also the growth function. So really, for me, the biggest passion from a work perspective or professional perspective is to grow and scale new products. So I think it's very exciting that we were able to grow Kentico content from zero now into multi-million ARR business. So that's very exciting. And for those who are listening and who know more of Kentico as a company, Kentico Software now is our parent company, and Kentico has 2 divisions which are separated, and our division Kontent is one of the leaders on headless CMS market. So that's my journey with content, and every day is different, and I must say I enjoy every second, even though sometimes it's tiring.
I get the tiring part, but man, round of applause to grow the company from that beginning idea stage to where it is today. You know, I'm really happy to hear that growth, and I hope I've been a little tiny part of it as myself, because I've seen it all. I'm really excited about where the product is these days. I think it competes well with everyone else in the space, if not better than most, and I'm a big fan of it, obviously. So it's been great, and I think a lot of that is because of the people behind the product, as I always said that. So
absolutely, Brian. And just the other day in summer, we were in fact shooting some internal video to thank our employees, and we realized that 4 out of the initial group of 8 people who were in the internal startup are still with the company. They are still building the product. They are more in senior roles now. But it's so exciting. And I must say that one thing that I really love about content is that I always say we have 2 obsessions or 2 focus groups. One is the customer, of course, and partners. Like we do everything to make them happy and help them with their issues. But the other focus group or the other audience is our employee, and we really try to support our employees. And in fact, I just realized that I didn't reply to your first question, like if I can say something funny about me. What I do for the whole my life is that I do like extreme endurance sports, and the funny fact, it's not funny, but for some people it's crazy that I average around 500 to 600 of hours per year of endurance training, which if you combine it with full-time management role, it's challenging. Yeah? So I would say it's not so funny, but it's interesting fact.
Yeah, I think funny is the word. Crazy comes to mind. Scary is another word that I would use for that much time. But I respect it. I do a lot of working out myself, and but I'm nowhere near the things that I've seen you do. If you're listening, you're curious, go check out Vojtech's Twitter feed. He's got some great pictures on there. I've seen the cycling in the mountains, and frankly, it makes me jealous. As being over here in the U.S., we don't really have all that great of opportunities, at least in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where I am. But it's very cool. I also love seeing that part of the story as well with you. So
thanks. And basically, what I wanted to say is that what I really appreciated Kontent, and also in Kentico, of course, as a parent company, that they do support me. Like a few years ago, when I stepped up into the management, many people and many friends told me, "Hey, man, this is the end for your races and for your competitions." And I said, "No, that's part of my life, and that's part of who I am." And Kentico supported me, and I can still keep doing what I love.
Awesome. Okay. Well, let's get to the meat of the discussion today, and it's all about Kontent Horizons. As we mentioned, there's this event coming up. So I thought, who better to introduce what this event is than the person who runs it, which is the person here on the show right now. So, Vojtech, tell me, if you haven't heard about Horizons, what is it? What should people expect about this? Is it just another Zoom call, or is it just a little bit more than that?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. So, really, Kontent Horizons is, well, we are still in COVID time, so it's a virtual conference, but we have a couple of goals with the conference. First is, of course, to just bring the community together, because as I mentioned, we love our customers, our partners, and we love sharing, because I say sharing is caring, but also what we wanted to do last year, considering the COVID, we realized it's a nice opportunity to introduce a new events brand, new conference brand, and that was the time in COVID when Kontent Horizons was born. And the business goal for Kontent Horizons, because of course we are here to do business, the business goal was to really bring or bridge the gap between marketers and developers, which is kind of our mission also with the product, because like historically those people that are aware and are familiar with Headless CMS market, they know that of course Headless CMS are very much focused on developers, which is of course fair and is the reality, but also the reality of the life and of the business is that they're not only developers, they're also business units that need to use the products, right? And that's basically what we are trying to do with our products, with Kontent, to bridge the gap between marketers and developers so that both groups can benefit from the product. And to come back to Kontent Horizons, that's why we keep the topics of the sessions and panel discussions relatively high level, so that it's interesting and there are some takeaways for both groups. But we really focus on lessons learned and sharing the experience. And this year it will be maybe even more interactive, because last year what we decided to do is that we didn't want to do one of those online conferences when everything's perfect, everything's pre-recorded, because we said, hey, we want to keep the human element in the game. So what we did was that we set up a live studio at Kentico headquarters, and of course, to be frank, we do have some sessions pre-recorded, but each session that is pre-recorded is followed by live Q&A. So there are some mistakes. There is the human interaction. There is a moderator who's doing the job. And this year we will also have many live panel discussions with industry experts. And we also changed a little bit of the game, that we invited more external speakers. So last year it was really about content community, so customers, partners, and Kentico Kontent employees. And this year we of course have these people present, but we also have some external experts from Forrester, from Netlify, etc. Yeah?
Awesome. Yeah, and I think as someone who went to the event last year, one of my favorite parts was the fact that the Q&A live sessions happened right after the event. And I got to be on both sides of it as an attendee. It was really cool to be able to watch. I think it was Veronica last year who kind of did some of the moderation and had the speakers answer the questions that came in from the chat, which is great because I got to ask some questions and hear those live responses, because that's what you want as an attendee. You want to hear the real reasoning behind some things, not maybe just read a chat message. But then I also spoke at it last year, and that was fun to be on the other side of it. Of all of a sudden, you're live, you've got people asking you questions, and it was cool to see you guys inside the studio too talk to us, and it almost made it feel like we were almost in the same room. And I think that's an awesome element to add to any virtual conference in the world these days, because we've all done the Teams and the Google and the Zooms, and that's just by itself not as interesting when you add that live aspect to it. So I love that part of it, and I would encourage everyone to participate in that part at this year's event as well. We probably should answer when this event is too. It's coming up kind of soon.
Yeah. So the event is in mid-November, to be precise. We have 3 days running, but each day is focused on one region. So we start on Tuesday, November 9th in Australia, APAC region. And then on November 10th, it's North America and Canada. And on the 11th, there is a session for Europe. So the whole event is typically for 6 hours. Plus minus, and we have some sessions that are the same all 3 days, but then we have some unique sessions that are tailored for the regions. Typically customer success stories and these kind of sessions.
Yep. And then don't forget, if you're listening here in the US, there's the whole time zone thing. So make sure you look at it in the right time zone when you're signing up for which event that you want to go to. There's lots of good things to see. And I actually saw all 3 of them last year, and I'm going to try to do that again this year. I'll tell you, though, the Australia one is a little tough to make it up that late, but it's doable. It's just it's a little tough, but it's fun.
Yeah, exactly. And I can say that with Australian one, we also wanted it to do it live, and we it was quite funny when we gathered around in the office at 3 a.m. And starting broadcasting after 4, and it's a little bit challenging, but you can do it one night, and it's just nice. Last year, especially last year when the COVID was really serious in Czech Republic, it was just so nice to meet everyone in the studio and chat. We had to wear the masks, but it was okay, and it was just nice to be together.
Yep. So now that you've heard a little bit about it, when it is, I guess the best thing to probably put up next is where to go to register or check out some of the actual details, more than just listening to us or watching us on the clips. So I'm going to try out this new feature on this podcast software and put this up here. So I'll throw it up on the screen, and this is the best place, I'm assuming, right, Vojta, for how to register or how to get started or join the event, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's fairly easy. So just horizons.content.ai. There is the whole microsite. You can also check some of the videos from the last year. What's also cool, we have some making of video behind the scenes. And you can also, I believe my team just published the agenda, which is not final, but it's almost final. So yeah, just go and check it out.
Awesome. I haven't even seen that yet. I'm excited to see the full agenda because, like you said, some of the keynotes and the outside speakers are really good. Like I think, is it Jason from Netlify that's going to be doing the technical keynote?
Yes. So what we did, as I mentioned, we want to really provide some value to both marketers and content people and developers. So we have a keynote for developers done by Jason, VP of Developer Experience from Netlify. He will be talking basically about the developers' team productivity in relation to architecture and proper infrastructure. And then we have Colleen Jones. She's a former head of content at MailChimp. Now she is president of Content Science Network, and she will be talking about the current state of content operations in a sense. And she will be running the keynote for more like business units.
Awesome. Awesome. And actually, I do want to make a comment that I think it's really great how your team has set up the two different kind of tracks, the business marketing track, as we always have kind of called it, and then the technical side, because I know some of the developers here at Bitstream, they're very excited about the technical side of things typically, and they want to see code and they want to see architecture and best practices. But I also know we typically invite a lot of our customers, and actually a lot of end customers just from around the community show up at these things. And they're not necessarily as excited about like the code part of it. They want to know what solutions it can provide and how it does that from a case study standpoint, or just other people's experience with content as a headless CMS. And I think that's neat, because then both audiences do have that place to go to watch.
Yeah.
So, all right, so I'm gonna turn that off. And I just, we've got through most of it, but can you tell the audience maybe anything like cool insider knowledge you have, or behind the scenes, or just maybe even some fun, silly things about what it does or what it takes to run Horizons?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, let's be honest. I think after 2 years of COVID, it's not that much fun of doing online conferences, because people, I think, are a little bit ready to meet in person. But our aspiration, our goal, considering the COVID situation in the world, is that this year we will do the great interactive online session, and next year we will meet in person for Horizons. So my message here is that the Kontent Horizons concept is definitely ambitious to continue in the next years. That's one thing. But you ask about some behind the scenes things. Like this year, we will be changing the venue. It will be still at Kentico headquarters, but we want to have different cameras and basically also have it a little bit more interactive. That's one thing. And second thing, behind the scenes, I can already mention it since I'm in Kontent Rocks podcast. In November, hopefully, if the timing is will be okay, we will present or launch a new brand color for content, and in relation to that, we will be also offering or ordering some swag and coffee, because we love coffee. I'm not sure, Brian, if you received our branded coffee.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So that was very successful. So we are already doing some branded coffee in a new color brand, and I will make sure to, of course, ship one for you. But the reason why I'm saying it is that we will also have many contests and competitions for cool swag. And definitely sign up and check out our newsletters, because you can then participate.
Awesome. That's exciting. I'm a big coffee drinker. I love all kinds of coffee, so very excited to try it out. But thanks for the inside knowledge of it. So the little fun tip you can learn by listening to the Kontent Rocks podcast. So, so that's the fun part. I do think, I'm going to give you some time to vent here. What is there anything that you don't enjoy about the conference? Anything that's a pain that you have to do it, but it's just not exciting? I'm always curious about that, because we run some events here too, and it's always nice to have the opportunity to vent as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big question, because of course, I love almost all parts of my job. That's why I'm doing that. If I didn't, I wouldn't be somewhere else. But of course, there are things that you don't enjoy that much. But to be frank or honest, the only thing that I'm a little bit worried is that people are really having Teams Zoom fatigue. I can see it. To be honest, I can see it even with myself. After being on the camera for the whole day, it's I don't want to be on the camera or on the Mac in the afternoon or in the evening. So I think that's one thing that is changing, but I want to encourage people to still sign up, because really you can expect human interaction and even some mistakes. We improvise. It's not. It's of course very well professionally prepared, but on the other hand, we are humans. So that's what you can expect. Don't expect any artificial prepared presentations. It's more a human, I would say, and that's the only thing we can do with virtual conference. And hopefully in future we will meet again in person.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I agree. And that's better, in my opinion, is to have it be human and be realistic, and not just try to have everything pre-prepared. I've been to events like that, not as much fun. I mean, heck, even right now, like yesterday and today, the big Jamstack conference going on, and I've heard they've had a ton of problems with the power failures and all sorts of fun things that have caused their show problems.
Yeah.
Let's just hope none of that happens in the Horizons world.
Yeah.
But I don't think
hopefully not, Brian. I can tell you a funny fact that last year when we were preparing the studio, it was quite funny because 1 or 2 days before the show, the video broadcasting or streaming company came here, and we realized that it's not so easy to plug into our Ethernet if you are not a Kentico employee. And we're like, oh man, we are IT company, tech company in 2021, and we can't run the proper internet connection for those guys. But of course, we figured it out. So this year we will be prepared like 2 weeks in front, not 2 days.
Good. Oh, hey, that just means the security is good at the office, right? That's also important.
Exactly. I'm saying hi or sending greetings to our CIO.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I won't keep you much longer. I appreciate your time. I know you're busy. It's been great just to hear about Kontent Horizons. And again, if you haven't registered yet, please do so. The link is there. Horizons of Content. I can't recommend it more. Maybe if you register, you can actually see my session as well. I'm actually giving a session about .NET and content and why it's primed for the enterprise. I'm really excited about that. In fact, I'm going to keep working on it probably right after this recording because it's not quite done yet. But I have time. I have plenty of time. We've got almost a month before the session. So there it is, everyone. Thank you for joining me, Vojta. I will let you go. We'll kind of call it an episode here. And this has been the Kontent Rocks podcast hosted by myself, Brian McKeiver. And if you want to find out more about the show, it'll be on my blog at McKeiver.com as we are housing the episodes there temporarily right now until we have a new website domain for the podcast. But for right now, it's just like it's always been. You can go to my blog at McKeiver.com. And actually, Vojta, if they want to follow you on Twitter, what is your Twitter handle? Let's call that out there too, because I know we've got some fun stuff to put out.
It's fairly easy. It's Vojtech Boril. If you search it on Twitter, you can find it very quickly. I don't tweet only about work, also a little bit as we mentioned about mountains and endurance sports. But you will also find some work updates there, of course. And also if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'm also open.
Awesome. All right. So thanks, everyone. That's been the episode. We will talk to you all later.
Thank you.